It is the Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix. We're live out at 1911 Cigars. Great spot out in Cibolo, right here on Main Street. We're out here till 7. Then they're going to have the Monday night game on tonight, which should be interesting with the Saints and the Seahawks. It is a Monday. That means it's time for Mondays with the Moose. 3-time Super Bowl champion Daryl Johnston joins us now. Of course, you're now with Fox Sports. And, man, you had an interesting game yesterday, Daryl.
Yeah, we did. We did. I think much more competitive than we anticipated. Just kind of watching Miami on film and just reading some of the quotes from some of the players and coaches, it seemed like some of the frustration had gotten to them. And Atlanta was the complete opposite, very positive, very upbeat in the progression they were making from week to week. So, yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Miami had a chance to win that one.
Yeah, I was too, especially in a week where there were so many Deshaun Watson trade rumors that Tua actually seemed to be dialed in and focused to go out there and do his job for maybe his next head coach.
Yeah, he did a really nice job. We talked to him about it a little bit. The rumors were out early enough in the week that when we visited with him on Friday, and he was very honest. He was very open about it. Sometimes you get a little bit of that player speak where, we don't let the outside voices into the locker room. But he said, listen, they get in there and a lot of that conversation comes with me directly with my agent. He's got to talk to me about, what's going on right now. And he was very complimentary of Brian Flores, the head coach of the Dolphins, being very transparent, very open with him about everything that was going on from the standpoint of the organization and the personnel.
Daryl Johnston joining us here on the Blitz Mondays with the Moose. Daryl, with the Cowboys having the bye week yesterday or this past week, Dak was at the facility today. He was shown no boot on. He was wearing slides. There was pictures of him from the weekend at a country concert wearing only cowboy boots. When you see photos like that, knowing the calf injury that he suffered against New England, the fact that he was wearing slides and cowboy boots over the weekend, how concerned should we be about his calf as they get ready for Minnesota this week?
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's back to 100%. That's for sure. It's good that he's out of the boot, but it doesn't mean the injury is completely healed. And hopefully it's not something that he has to carry with him, off and on through the course of the season. But if you get put in the boot, they're taking some stress off that movement that's going to impact as you walk. So when he gets out in the practice field and he starts to stress, I think that's the bigger indicator. Is he showing any signs of that injury being an impact at that point? But yeah, the slides and the cowboy boots, I'm not ready to commit that he's going to be good to go near 100% this weekend.
Troy was on the radio up in Dallas and said essentially that he dealt with a calf at one point, and you could still, at the quarterback position, you could still play through it, but obviously you're going to be limited. And I think about Troy's style of game versus Dak's and the rollouts and the scrambling ability. If he is limited, how much of a challenge is that for Keller Moore to design plays that are going to make sure he stays in the pocket and doesn't take off and run?
Well, I think the big thing is the progression that he's made this year, where his movement in the pocket is more subtle. It's the slides and the climbs, but he wants to stay within the confines of the pocket. He's not breaking out and running. They're not using him in that fashion as much, and maybe the way that some of the offense was designed after that injury that he had last year, and you're trying to keep him out of harm's way a little bit. That plays in as a positive with the calf injury that he suffered that last game. So I think Keller Moore has lots of options, to keep him in a comfortable area where he's not out on the move. And I think it's something that not only is Dak very comfortable with, but I think he's taken his biggest strides in that arena so far this season.
Daryl Johnston joining us here on the Blitz. Daryl, you look at the Cowboys and the season they've had. People are talking about this team making a legitimate Super Bowl run, and I look around the NFC, and I think they're right up there with what we all consider the best teams in the NFC. And I try to say that, not sound like a homer, right? But the one area that concerns me is on the defensive side. While it has played better, especially with all the takeaways and what Diggs has been able to do, the amount of yards that they continue to give up, the turnovers are bailing them out. I don't know if they can maintain that over a 17-game season. How concerned are you about the Cowboys defense post-bye week play?
I think you're exactly right. It's actually one of the things that we looked into our game this past weekend about the Miami Dolphins going from 10-6 to now being at 1-6. And the biggest thing was they were on pace this year, the first half of the season, similar to what they did last year. But the second half of the season, they were off the charts taking the ball away. They were off the charts on third down defense. And that's the area that they haven't been very good at this year. And just like takeaways popped up this year, and they've been working on this for a number of years, in the organization. Every team is trying to find a way to take away the football, and it doesn't materialize from season to season. But it has worked for the Cowboys this year. But as you pointed out, it's not sustainable. It's not something you can hang your hat on and expect those to happen week in and week out. And I think that's one of the big things that happened to Miami this year. Is I think they come out and, hey, we practiced this last year. We taught the punch. We were very good in our coverage, getting our head around, locating the football. Didn't play a lot of back to the quarterback style coverages. Gave ourselves opportunities for takeaways. We should be able to replicate what we did in 2020 again here in 2021, and that just doesn't always happen. The good news for me is you're going to get some players back as we get into the second half of the season on the defensive side of the ball. So it's been very impressive with some key contributors out of the lineup that this defense has been able to play the way they have. But I agree with you. I think it's a concern, the amount of yardage. There's some areas there that they've got to get cleaned up and fixed up. But as you said, it's the takeaways right now that are allowing them to be able to play at the level they're playing at.
And again, I look at my two concerns: the yardage they give up, and then the issues they continue to have in the red zone. I watched so many games, so especially this weekend, it was on red zone most of the day. And there are some teams that just get close to the red zone and they just make it look easy. And it seems like every time the Cowboys are in the red zone, even when they score, nothing seems to come easy for them in the red zone. How does Keller Moore in this offense get that fixed?
Yeah, right. That to me is the one, and not just settling for field goals, but actually having turnovers, critical mistakes in the red zone. So yeah, that's definitely something that's got to fix. To me, I'm a big, run game guy when we get down into the red zone area because the field condenses. The advantage definitely tips to the defensive side of the ball. One of the things you can do to try and balance that out a little bit is be able to run the ball effectively. And I've always felt, going all the way back to Scott Linehan, who was there, with Keller Moore, and Keller Moore coached underneath him. There was kind of a series of play calls that brought them all the way down the field, and then when they get into the red zone and a lot of times into the tight red zone, they would get away from that, and all of a sudden there'd be 3 incompletions and then a field goal attempt. And so I'd like to see him just kind of maintain that consistency. Whatever you were doing from 20 to 20, let's not deviate too far from that. And I know you have your specialty plays when you get inside the red zone, and depending if you're from the 25 to the 10, and then from the 10 to the goal line. You've got your plays that you like, but let's make sure that there's some consistency there that's similar to what you used to get all the way down the field. Because it always seemed to me that there was a way they marched down the field and then they got into that red zone area, and it was all of a sudden a completely different style of play.
It sounds to me like you're saying they need to make sure there's a fullback in there with that run game down by the goal line.
Absolutely. They've brought the F back. They're using a couple of guys in a different way, but. I've enjoyed it. If you get a little big in there and try to pound the football a little bit, and actually, I think that Connor McGovern's doing a nice job with that. It's not easy for linemen to adjust to that. When they block in the offensive line position, the guy across them is about 12 to 18 inches away. Now all of a sudden you get into the fullback position, and your assignment's about 8 yards away, and it's a pretty violent collision. So it's a completely different style. There's not a whole lot of technique. It's mainly mentality. And he's done a nice job. He's one of the few that I've seen make that transition and be able to maintain good pad level and not, kind of rely on his size and think that he's going to dominate somebody just because he's bigger. Because these linebackers, they understand the leverage component of the game, and pad level wins in that situation. And Connor's shown the ability to match pad level with some of these guys from the fullback position.
Daryl, I'm curious, as fullbacks by nature are starting to become extinct, and they're using more linemen in that kind of a situation. Do you work with any of these offensive linemen that got pressed into fullback duty to kind of work on what you just described?
I have not been asked to. I have not. I've not had the opportunity to. But I was recently when we were at the Hall of Fame inductions. I sat right next to Mike Allstott when we were there for John Lynch. And one of the things that Mike and I talked about was maybe getting together with Lorenzo Neal and Sam Gash and some of the guys from the '90s and doing something similar to what the tight ends are doing with that tight end U.
Yeah.
Bringing some of the younger guys in from around the league and kind of giving them the tricks of the trade and teaching them how to watch film, teaching them, just some of the subtle tricks that we used on the field as players. And whether that was open to, true fullbacks or, tight ends that were getting put into that F position, linemen that were getting put into that F position, even guys from the defensive side, have been put in that spot. So it's definitely something we talked about and just as a way to try to keep that position relevant. And keep it a spot on the roster that's continuing to get snaps.
I think fullbacks should have their own day. If tight ends get a day, don't fullbacks need a day too?
Yeah, they wore that out yesterday, boy. Even in our game. Now we had Kyle Pitts in our game yesterday, so we were probably one of the biggest offenders on the course of the afternoon. But yeah, when I sat back and watched the highlight shows, I was like, boy. This. Yeah, we definitely need a fullback day, and maybe we can swing the tide. It was kind of cool though how all the tight ends had big days yesterday, and that'd be awesome. The only fear you would have is if you do a fullback day and there's, it's not a statistical position, so you're going to have to look long and hard to be able to sell the contributions of those fullbacks in the blocking component.
I think if there's a way, Hallmark will come up with a card and we'll get it on the calendar and we will be able to celebrate it. The Moose, Daryl Johnston, joining us here on the Blitz. Before I let you go, Daryl, I out of curiosity, you guys are winning Super Bowls. Was there somebody in the locker room, whether it was, Rich Dalrymple or somebody from the PR staff or one of the coaches, that would let you guys know as players when a milestone was going to happen? For example, Mike Evans gave away a ball that was probably worth $500,000 on the memorabilia market and had no idea that was a milestone kind of touchdown. Is that who's responsible to let you know as a player that, hey, one more and Tom gets 600? It's never been done before.
Yeah, that's a good question. It would definitely probably have been Rich during our time if there was a monumental play coming up. We always have those when we're doing the broadcasting. We'll have a milestone like that, especially if it's never been done before, and we're aware of that. So I'm sure in that situation, and I know the head of PR for Arizona, and he's one of the better ones in the NFL, and he's on top of his job. And I'm sure that Mark had that information and was able to share it with everybody. But, in the heat of the moment, you kind of forget. There was a game when we played in Arizona late in the season, and Emmett was going to break the single-season touchdown record. He needed one more to go. And, I caught a pass, and I got knocked out of bounds on, the 2-yard line. And people said, that was awesome that you that you were that aware and you didn't try to score on that play. And I'm like, listen, I had no idea. I knew going into it, but I was trying to score. I got knocked out of bounds. I got to be honest with you. So, don't give me too much credit for being smart in that situation. So it ended up working out great, and Emmett scored a play later and set the mark. But when you're competing and you're on that field, anybody that can manage their emotions and be that smart, I have a tremendous amount of respect for.
And I do think the guy did the right thing by giving the ball back to Tom, although I thought the Bucs should have offered him a lot more than just $1,000 gift card to the team store.
Absolutely. That's it's interesting because, as you pointed out, that market has gotten so big right now, and what would the value of that football been? I mean, the NFTs and things like that. Some of the prices that we're seeing for sports memorabilia in this day and age, is unbelievable. So that was going to be a very, very highly sought after item of memorabilia. I mean, I think an early pair of Michael Jordan game worn shoes just went for $1.47 million, in an auction setting. So, the first NFL player to throw for 300 or 600 passes, 600 touchdown passes, and that's the 601, and you've got that football, I can't even imagine what the market would be. So,
according to the reports I'm reading, many experts are saying at least $500,000. At least.
I would say more. If we're talking, a pair of game-worn shoes by Michael Jordan back in the day, and some of these trading cards. I mean, what was Tom Brady's trading card? That was a one of 4 or something like that, or a 1 of 1. I mean, these are millions of dollars. So, yeah, he may wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm going to give the organization a call and see if I can get that gift card raised up a little bit from $1,000.
That or season tickets for a decade or something. I mean,
lifetime season tickets. Just give them lifetime season tickets.
I mean, when was the last time you were in a team store? $1,000 gets you a jersey, 2 T-shirts, and a hat.
Exactly.
He's got to get more than that. Daryl Johnston, the Moose, joining us here on the Blitz as we do Mondays with the Blitz. Always fun, Daryl. Next week, we'll talk about that Cowboys and Vikings game. What game do you have this week? Do you know yet?
Yeah, we have the Rams at the Texans.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, we get to see LA, and I think it'll be interesting. I mean, they played Detroit, and Detroit, they know they have to steal some possessions, and Dan Campbell did a great job, but the talent level just doesn't match right now. There's talk that Tyrod Taylor could be back in the lineup. I'm interested to see the frame of mind that LA is in. Coming up against, like, this will be their third consecutive opponent that is below 500, but when you talk about 0-7, and this is going to be 1-6 here for Houston. I mean, you're going against two teams that you should handle very well. They struggled a little bit with Detroit, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they respond and what this game is like. Did they take care of business right away and jump out on them quickly and put the game away, or did they let Houston hang around on them?
It's going to be interesting for sure, especially if Tyrod is able to come back and play. Daryl, always appreciate the time, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep, look forward to it. Take care, Jason.
Appreciate it. Daryl Johnston, the Moose. Mondays with the Moose every Monday here on the Blitz.